It is officially time to start talking a little football. What is going on, y'all? Fox Sports Talk back at it with another video talking, of course, a little NFL with the 2019 NFL season right around the corner. And there's going to be a ton of football content, NFL content now on this channel. So you don't want to miss out. So what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. And while you're at it, I do daily uploads. So to be notified of those daily uploads, go ahead and click the bell icon down below so you'll be notified every time I post a new video, because I do post every day like I mentioned to you guys. With that being said, also if you are on social media, which I'm sure you are, go ahead and follow me on my social media, Twitter, Instagram. You guys can talk with me, debate. We can talk about any topic really, but obviously let's talk sports and let's talk about the NFL divisions, because I'm bringing you guys my 8-part video series on every division in the NFL, and I'm going to break down every single team in every division and give you guys a preview for every team and a record prediction for every team. So without further ado, I don't want to wait any longer. We were talking about the NFC North today in the first part of this video series, and let's get started. So I'm going to be starting with the Detroit Lions first, who had a poor season last year. They went 6-10. Obviously not very good. First year under new head coach Matt Patricia, who of course they got from the New England Patriots. And it was an abysmal year for the Detroit Lions, a forgetful year, really. And so let's take a look at their 2019 forecast and outlook by first taking a look at, who the heck did they add, who did they lose, and whatnot. So I've got my board here, and I know it's going to be a bit confusing, but follow me here. I've got the players added. So let's talk about those first. They did add C.J. Anderson. A lot of people don't realize that. They picked him up from, of course, the Rams. So he's going to provide some depth behind Kerryon Johnson. Danny Amendola, who they got from the Miami Dolphins, I believe. Yes, he played for the Dolphins last season. So he's going to be the new slot receiver alongside Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones. Jesse James, the tight end from the Steelers, who now have Vance McDonald taking that position. And the Jermaine Kearse. So added some receiver depth for sure. So better options for Matt Stafford, okay? Players lost, of course. We've got Ezekiel Ansah, who was a big part of their defense. He is no longer there. Bruce Ellington, TJ Lane, and Luke Wilson. Now, again, I want you guys to note that I'm only putting down the notable players. There's obviously a ton more, but these are the main guys. They did draft TJ Hawkinson in the first round, I believe, with the 8th overall pick. And they drafted Jelani Tavia and Will Harris, the linebacker and the safety as well. So, for the most part, they did add a number of players, some offensive weapons for Matt Stafford. They did lose a couple of key defensive players, of course, Ziggy Ansah being the biggest one. But I do like what they did with adding to the depth of the offense. And, of course, we got to start here with the key notable players. You've got Stafford, Kenny Golladay, and Kerryon Johnson. And let me put the board down real quick and talk about those three for a second, because to me, when we're talking about the Detroit Lions for 2019, it starts and ends with those three players, okay? Matt Stafford, Kenny Golladay, and Kerryon Johnson. And here's the blueprint for the Lions moving forward. They ran the ball a lot last year. They used to be one of the best passing offenses in the NFL years before that. Matt Patricia comes in and he makes it a run-heavy team, and obviously it did not work in their favor. So what do I need for the Lions to do? Get back into a passing attack with Matt Stafford and Kenny Golladay, who is their #1 receiver now. He's one of the better, underrated, big-time target receivers in the NFL. And like you've added the other guys alongside him, well, you obviously still have Marvin Jones. Now Danny Amendola in the slot, Jesse James at tight end, along with the TJ Hawkinson, who they drafted. You've got weapons for Matt Stafford, so I need to see the Lions throw the ball more, because they need to do so. And that is the best way for the Lions, I believe, to succeed. They ran the ball way too much last year, and it was to their detriment, folks. I mean, when you've got offensive players, when you've got a big-arm quarterback like Matt Stafford, you don't want to run the ball as much as you did. In terms of their strength of schedule this year, they're tied for the 19th toughest, which isn't really that bad. So that is a good thing for them. But last year, just awful in terms of their offensive game plan. 23rd in offensive efficiency, 20th in offensive yards per play. So for me, it is going to be all about Matt Stafford, Kenny Golladay. Use the passing attack more. Obviously, you want to involve Kerryon Johnson. as well. And then you can maybe use CJ Anderson as a goal line back. But for them to get back into the winning ways, it starts with the passing offense. I'm going to give them a slight improvement from last year's record. One more dub. Let's put the Lions at 7-9 this coming season. Next up, we've got the Minnesota Vikings, who went 8-7-1 last season. So everyone thinks they had an awful year when you think about it, looking back. But they actually did finish better than 500. But that still prompted the Vikings to, of course, fire their offensive coordinator, John DeFilippo, and they hired Kevin Stefanski this year. So new OC under head coach Mike Zimmer. Let's see how things go there. One thing I quickly do want to point out is with the Lions that I'm predicting to go 7-9, a big reason for that is even though they added a number of notable good players in terms of their depth, is because of the strength of this division, which is pretty strong when you look at the other three teams. So with the Vikings themselves, they actually, in terms of their personnel, did not add too many players, okay? I mentioned the OC change. That might have been the biggest notable change, because if you take a look at the board here, and I've got the players added, there are not too many big names. I mean, you've got guys like Dakota Dozier, Jordan Taylor, Josh Klein, Sean Mannion. I mean, backup quarterback here and there. And they lost, a couple of, big-time players in Latavius Murray, who was one of the better running backs when Dalvin Cook was out. He was the starter, essentially. Andrew Sendejo, their strong safety. Sheldon Richardson, who they lost to the Browns. So, to me, the Vikings lost more good players than they added. So, that is, of course, always a negative. But they did have a decent draft. I like the Garrett Bradbury drafting him. And then Irv Smith, I like him a lot, the tight end, I believe, out of Alabama. So, I did think they had a decent draft, but for the most part, in terms of free agency, nothing really that impressive for the Minnesota Vikings. And then when you take a look at the key players, of course, you've got Kirk Cousins, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, and Dalvin Cook. So let's talk a little bit about the Minnesota Vikings and take a look at the fact that this is another team, I believe, last year still ran the ball more than they should have. I believe they didn't pass the ball enough. When you've got arguably the best wide receiving duo in the NFL in Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, you need to take advantage of that. And to me, I believe the Vikings did not do so enough. Now, hopefully that changes under their new OC, Kevin Stefanski, but we don't know that yet. So with that being said, that's my only issue with the Vikings. But when you take a look at their strength of schedule, you've got the 10th toughest, so it is a decently tough schedule for the Minnesota Vikings, and they're in a division with the Packers, with the Bears, and of course with the Lions, who I believe did improve. So it's going to be tough for the Minnesota Vikings. And here's the thing, I like their talent. I really do. I just wish they added a little bit more. I don't like their third wide receiver. I believe it was Laquan Treadwell last year. They lost Aldrick Robinson as well. So behind Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, they don't have too much. You've still got Kyle Rudolph and, like I said, Irv Smith. So offensively, they're good. It's just going to be taking advantage of that offense. Remember, this is a team with Case Keenum at quarterback that went to the NFC Championship game. So that is the roster for the most part is not the issue. It's going to be how well the new OC and coaching staff adjust to utilizing their personnel. So to me, I'm going to say the Vikings do go 8-8. As much as I like their offensive firepower, I think with the new OC first year, losing a number of good players, they're going to have a little bit of trouble, as well as having the 10th toughest strength of schedule. So I'm going to go 8-8 for the Minnesota Vikings, with the potential, of course, they could be 9-7, somewhere hovering around there, but I'm going to go with 8-8. Next up, we've got the Green Bay Packers, who had an abysmal year last season, one to forget. I know Packer fans don't want me to talk about it, but I got to talk about it. They went 6-10 last year. It was so bad that they, of course, fired their head coach, Mike McCarthy, and Aaron Rodgers has seemingly fallen out of every sort of list of top quarterbacks in the NFL, and everybody now obviously talks about Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Andrew Luck, and guys like that. And now Aaron Rodgers, even on Madden's standards, he's now rated like, I believe, a 90, which is behind all those guys. I still believe Aaron Rodgers is arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. I would definitely say he's a top 2-3 quarterback to me. So I don't want to overreact to the masses and say that the Packers obviously aren't going to be as good because Aaron Rodgers isn't as good. No, I believe Aaron Rodgers is still very good. Remember last year, he was playing hurt. He played with I believe it was an MCL injury all year long, the one he injured against Bears in the first game of the season. So he was not fully healthy all season long, and for the most part, he still had a very good statistical year. So for me, the right move was made by letting go of Mike McCarthy. His time had just run its course in Green Bay, and now you bring in a new coach in Matt LaFleur, and let's see what he does with the Packers, with Aaron Rodgers. But I like the fact that he comes from, working with guys like Sean McVay, guys like that, because to me, he comes from a coaching tree that's very strong and that's very offensive heavy and has good schemes, designs, Kyle Shanahan, guys like that. So I like that. Let's take a look at the board now with what the Packers did this offseason. So in terms of players added, Adrian Amos, who comes over, of course, from the Bears, Billy Turner, Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith. So they did add a lot on the defensive end. They drafted Rashad Gary, linebacker, and then Darnell Savage, who's a safety as well. So defensively, the Packers have improved by addressing that, but they did also lose their future Hall of Fame linebacker in Clay Matthews. He went to the Rams. Lost Brashad Breeland. Their cornerback, Randall Cobb, of course, went to the Cowboys. So to me, they did still have a few notable losses. And defensively is where they mainly improved. Of course, you've got the two main guys, the key players in Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. Let's talk about this Packers team moving forward. Look, I like Matt LaFleur. I like that signing. I like that signing of the new head coach. But in terms of the Packers this coming season, I did not see enough of an offensive overhaul for the Packers to supplement Aaron Rodgers as, other teams in the NFL. With that being said, you do have Devontae Adams, but what else did you add? You really didn't add anything offensively. You are pretty much thrusting the young rookie receivers, or the young receivers now, they won't be rookies anymore, in Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Equanimeous St. Brown, Geronimo Allison, guys like that, to upper tier levels to produce. Will they produce? You would hope so as a Packers fan, but they are young and inexperienced. So to me, I would have liked for the Packers to give Aaron Rodgers a little bit more help. I like the fact that they addressed the O-line. That definitely helps. Aaron Jones hopefully should have a good year, the running back. But for the most part, the Packers need to get back to doing whatever it is to help Aaron Rodgers succeed. I don't believe they did that in the offseason with their player personnel. And so to me, I definitely think they improved from the 6-10 record, because like I said, last year was just a train wreck. And I do think with a new head coach in Matt LaFleur, who I do like, and Aaron Rodgers, and to me, it is pretty much Aaron Rodgers. To me, he's worth 2-3 wins. It's that simple, folks. And I think that happens this year. I think I was debating between the Vikings and the Packers, but I think I'm going to go with the Packers going 9-7 this coming season because of those facts, because they still have the best quarterback in the division, and that still goes a long way. They've got the best quarterback in the division by far. Like, it's not close. So to me, I'm going to go 9-7 for the Green Bay Packers. And finally, let's talk about the team that won this division last year, running away the Chicago Bears. And here's the thing with the Chicago Bears, who had a phenomenal season last year. They didn't really lose much in the offseason, folks, of notable value. So let's take a look at the board real quick before we start talking about the Bears. And let's take a look at the players they lost. Jordan Howard, they did lose Jordan Howard to the Philadelphia Eagles, but they immediately were able to address the running back position by drafting David Montgomery in the draft. And then they also added Mike Davis from the Seattle Seahawks, and they still have Tariq Cohen. So we've got sort of a committee now maybe at running back, but they did sort of address that. They lost, of course, Adrian Amos to the Packers I just talked about. But Bryce Callahan, that hurts a little bit. Kevin White, not really. I mean, he was a bust for them in terms of their draft picks. They did add Buster Stream, Clinton Dix from the Packers. So it looks like the Packers and the Bears just want to switch players in the offseason. And then, of course, I talked about Mike Davis. So the Bears, obviously, their key players, Khalil Mack, of course, Eddie Jackson, Mitchell Trubisky, Allen Robinson. Here's the thing with this team, man. I love everything about this team. I love the roster. I love the head coach and Matt Nagy. I love what this team is capable of this coming season. And to me, it's no secret. This team is the best team in the NFC North. I believe they're going to win this division again. The question really becomes for the Bears is what the record will be, which I will get to in a second, and just how good they can be compared to last season, okay? They do have the fifth toughest strength of schedule, so the schedule is much tougher this season. That is number one point to me because I have to bring down the reservation from last year in terms of the record a little bit lower just because of that, okay? We're talking about going from 12-4 now. Can they repeat that? And to me, with the schedule being much tougher, I believe it's going to be somewhere a little less than that, okay? And so to me, that is point number one. Point number two is going to be how does their quarterback, Mitchell Trubisky, progress in his second year under Matt Nagy. A lot of people don't realize he made a Pro Bowl last season. So Mitch Trubisky is a good quarterback, 24 touchdowns to just 12 interceptions last season. And now I talked about the running game. You've got a sort of a three-headed monster, if you will, with Mike Davis, with David Montgomery, and with Tariq Cohen. Who's going to be the main running back there? I believe David Montgomery is going to take that starting job. I believe he's going to come out of the gates hot. I think he's a very good rookie running back. You've still got Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller, who I believe will have a huge year for them, Taylor Gabriel, their deep threat. And then defensively, I mean, we're talking about arguably the best defense in the NFL. So to me, it's not even a close in terms of the best team in this division. It is the Chicago Bears. But the only reason it may seem close is because of how tough their schedule is. I really want to say that the Bears go, 11-5 or 12-4 again, but I think I'm going to be a little conservative and say 10-6. But that still is good enough for them to win the division at 10-6 over, of course, all the other teams in the division. But the only reason I say that, literally the only reason, is because of how tough I believe their schedule is going to be this season compared to last season. But in terms of the roster, the quarterback, in terms of the defense, the head coach, they're all trending up. They're all going in the right direction, and this Bears team should be very, very good this upcoming season. So there you have it, folks. All four teams in the division I just talked about. So let's do a quick recap. I've got the Bears winning this division at 10-6, with obviously the capability to go at 11-5 or 12-4 or even 13-3. But I'm going to say 10-6 just because of the schedule and how tough it's going to be. The Green Bay Packers at 9-7. I have them finishing. I've got the Minnesota Vikings at 8-8, and I've got the Detroit Lions at 7-9. So to me, it may seem like it's a close division, but I do believe the Bears are the best team in this division. And then, of course, we've got the Packers, Vikings, and then the Lions. So there you have it, folks. Let me know if you guys agree with my record predictions, my preview for each team in this division. Leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree. As always, thanks for watching.